Here we are. Okay. I'm starting a little bit early today, just because I was set up. I have learning the lesson of yesterday. I went for an uncomplicated setup today, Friday, last day of the week. So yeah, let's get to the plan for the day. All right. So first of all, I'm going to say hello. I see I've got a viewer, and I would encourage you, if you're hopping on, say hello, ask a question. We'll make today interesting. But we're going to do a little bit of what I tried to do yesterday. Yesterday was about read a book. So I tried to read a book outside, and we ran into some serious audio problems. If you guys tried to watch that video, I think it was a little bit unwatchable. So I apologize for how that went. But I want to share with you a book that I purchased in connection with a student's interests that I've been contacting. So this student recently turned 19, and on his birthday we were discussing it, and he was saying that, teachers don't teach how to be a grown-up, that you don't learn a lot of the basic stuff. You turn 18, school says, okay, congratulations, you graduated or whatever. And then you're out in the world and you're like, what are all these things? Why did I learn so much about triangles? And so this book is called How to Adult. And it talks you through grown-up things that you need to do. As you're getting older, these are things that are independent skills. So there is a section on finance, a section on cooking, taking care of your house, being a professional, how not to die in the wilderness, being an engineer working mechanical things, legal advice to keep you out of trouble with the law, or help you out if you need support legally, fitness, and then there's a conclusion. So I'm going to hop ahead to 41 is the cooking section, but if one of those other ones, finances or mechanical skills, interest you, then we can go there. So cooking is page 41. So I'm going to hop to page 41. I've gone too far. I got wound up on page 70. So yeah, if you guys don't want to see culinary skills, so there it is. Culinary skills to keep you from starvation. So one of the things I have to be careful about with this book is that it is a book for grown-ups, and it has some grown-up language. So you have to be used to and prepared for that. So here's 2 recipes. This is kind of like how you might cook things. So this is how to cook a roux, which I actually do fairly often. It is super straightforward way to make things. And then bechamel sauce, followed by gravy. There's a page on gravy. Ooh, there we go. So those are things that you probably already have the supplies for. So I'll tell you really quickly. The book takes some time to explain it, but the way that you make, at least the way I make gravy, is that I have a frying pan, and I heat up olive oil or butter in there. Throw in the same amount of flour as oil, so it's like equal parts both. And then when you're stirring that, you get what's called a roux. So that's like a brown kind of paste. And then you pour chicken stock into it, or mushroom stock, or whatever kind of gravy you're making. So that's it. Those 3 things, and then you stir them together. Maybe salt and pepper if you like that, and you've got a gravy. So the cool thing about that is that now that you've got a gravy, you can put a gravy on something else you cook, like chicken or potatoes, or there's a variant of it that you could use as like a sauce for cooking meatballs or spaghetti. Like, it's just the basics of how to make a gravy is actually really important to being able to make. Oh yeah, and also like you could use a stock kind of gravy to make a stew. throw some potatoes and some meat in there and carrots, and you got a stew. Like, oh, hey, you guys are there. Okay, I see your text, and I'm definitely looking on text. So I'm going to say choose your own adventure today. I'm going to say the chapters again for this book. I'll show you them. And then you tell me which one you're interested in. I've just been kind of on a little talking about how to cook, but maybe you guys are interested in something else. These are adult skills. So it's hard because this doesn't work like a mirror. So we've got finance, cooking, household, professional, outdoors, mechanical, legal advice, health, fitness, and there's a conclusion. So, like I said, these do have so choose a chapter, you guys, and then I'll read that. I can't read this whole book, but I can definitely read that. So until you choose a chapter. So that was a little bit on cooking. And if I wanted to right now, I could show you how to make a gravy. It takes seconds. And then if you have baked potatoes with gravy, that's just like you're already a winner in the kitchen. So let's look at engineering, unless you guys choose one. 179. Basic wisdom from an engineer. So this is a lot of times people are surprised how often you need to know how things work as a grown-up. And teachers don't teach you that. A lot of the time we just kind of we assume there's someone else who's going to tell you how to change a tire, or let's see what else. How to jump start a car. Those are car things for sure. What's a fuse box and why should I care? Oh, you guys want to see how to survive in the wilderness? All right, I'm changing gears. We'll do that one. Actually, I have an entire book I could show you guys. It might even be nearby, but it's a book that I own about surviving in the wilderness that's called How to Fight a Bear and Win. And so when my friends tell me that they want to go camping with me, I tell them that I've trained to fight bears up to medium size. So, I mean, that's quite a claim. It's not true. But a medium-sized bear a lot of times is the best thing, is that it's probably going to leave you alone if you leave it alone. So, how to survive in the wilderness, 155. Yeah, I've actually done a lot. I'm a big wilderness guy. In the summers, I want to spend 2 weeks in the woods at a time sometimes. So I'll just hop in a tent and bring my family and bring food and just make it happen. I grew up in the country, and just like wilderness survival is near to my heart. So I can tell you things from my own perspective as well. Yeah, let's see if I'm on the right page here. There we go. How not to die in the wilderness. Okay, so let's see what we've got to deal with here. The wilderness, it's dirty, it's filled with bugs and animals that probably want to eat you. And then it carries on to use some inappropriate language. Different ways to make a fire. Okay, so what you'll need to light a fire. So there's a little section that's called what you'll need to light a fire. So a lot of people are like, they're wilderness experts, so they're going to show you how to light a fire with 2 sticks, or a magnifying glass, or something crazy. You guys want to know about the bears? So actually, here I have real actual advice. So in Manitoba, we have black bears, and black bears for the most part are just afraid of humans. So in general, you just kind of have to not sneak up on a bear in Manitoba, and you'll be okay. That's my wilderness advice. The exception being a black bear that has cubs. If a bear has cubs, there is a risk that they would be aggressive. But a bear in Manitoba, just think of like the biggest dog you've ever seen. And that's about the size of a bear can get in Manitoba. So it's not like a grizzly. So if you're in BC, a grizzly will look at you. It's a bigger bear. It will look at you as a possible food source, and so in British Columbia, and far like the far north of Manitoba, where you got polar bears, there's a higher likelihood that you'll be treated as food, whereas a black bear is going to treat you as just a threat. Yeah, so that's kind of that's how you measure bears, the type of bear and its size. So a grizzly bear or a polar bear is much more like the size of a horse, and like a large horse. So if you think about that size and weight, that's not something you can defend yourself against, especially sharp teeth and paws. There's a lot of threats there. So polar bear, grizzly bear, those are guys you don't want to mess with. And I bet it might even be in the book. Here I am giving you guys my personal knowledge, but let's see what they say about bears. No. Wait, there's one section that said something about a bear. I have had, just by way of storytelling, I have had a couple of personal encounters with bears as well. Because I'm an avid camper. I was up in Manitoba. There's a canoe trail that I like to go disappear up in the summer sometimes. So I'll hop in a canoe with a couple friends and the supplies I need. And I'll just canoe for several days in and just camp and live off the land. I like to fish. And anyway, while we were up, what is it, Elbow Lake, something like that, some bears took an interest in our camp because we were cooking a great deal of bacon. And a friend of mine had brought bear spray, so we had it at the ready. But what we did, which I don't know if this is the best solution, but what we did is we had a canoe, and my friend canoed up to where the bear was. It wasn't right where we were. It was about 100 meters away. And he just told it to get out of here. He just yelled in a scary voice for the bear to get out of there, and it did. So we kind of scared the bear off. And I've had bears, growing up in the country, I've had bears on our property, although that's rare. Yeah, that's talking about bears. I'm glad you asked the question. Yeah, but if a bear sees you as food, if the bear is small like a black bear, the advice people get if it does try to attack you is with a black bear, you gotta fight like your life does depend on it, and so you should fight with everything you've got. Grab a stick, or a rock, and just try to aim for eyes. This is a crazy, interesting. I'm glad you guys asked the question, but this is kind of a sideways step. But then with grizzly bears, you are not supposed to fight because you will never win. Unless you have a gun, you will not win against a grizzly bear, no matter what you're carrying. So in that case, you have to pretend to be dead because they might leave you alone. So that's the difference from one animal to the next. So yeah, we went down a tangent today on a Friday. Okay, so yeah, that was how this section is just on how to light a fire, and I would tell you, like, their instructions that they're giving you here are actually not about how to light a fire when you aren't prepared, like using a stick or your glasses. This is just about how to light a fire in general, which a lot of people don't have that skill. But what I've learned is that fire climbs. And so if you want to light a fire, the best way is to have the best kindling and tinder at the bottom. And then as that's burning, the fire is going to start on the easy stuff, and then harder to burn and harder to burn. You make it like a sandwich or a stack. And if you have enough stuff at the bottom burning, it'll have enough heat to catch the next layer, which is like skinny sticks, and then above that is thicker. And that's how you light a fire. Usually I use paper, but you can also use birch bark. Is really good for lighting fires. If you're in the wilderness and have a good fire pit. That's my advice there. Oh, So, this is how to find north. I'm just going to use my finger to cover up some of the wording that's on there. But here's how to find north, which is actually, there's a couple of ways, but in Manitoba, we can just watch where the sun rises and where it sets, right? So the sun rises, I mean, I guess that's true for anyone. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So that means that north is going to be, if you look east and then look left, or you look west and then look right. So a little bit weird, but that's one way you can find north. Another way that they're describing here is the moss. A lot of times moss will grow on the northern end of a tree. So that's one way you can, if you find a tree that's growing moss, it just grows on the one side. There's one side that gets sun, which is on the south, and then the north side is no sun, and that's where the moss grows. So just like a science way to know if you're finding north. And then if there's stars, you can use, they're describing a way to find the North Star. So the North Star, you can follow certain asterisms and they point their way to the North Star. So yeah, that's a way. That's a way to do it. Do you guys have any more questions? I feel like you maybe are getting more information than is wise for me to deliver. Here's how to make a shelter. It's another wilderness piece. The best one that I've found is a lean-to, which is just that you just find one tree and then you stick a bunch of trees on an angle around it, and then you cover the trees on an angle, like with branches and leaves, and then you've got a lean-to, and that's a really quick way to make a wilderness place to stay. I mean, it's not going to keep you warm, but it might keep you dry, and it definitely will make you feel more. You'll be a little warmer. It'll hold a bit of body heat in. And having a place to stay, like a home base, is actually a good survival tip in general. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else they've got. Did they talk about a lean-to? All right. Up next, here's how to fish. I think we've got some fishing for more than just compliments. I think we might have some vegetarians in the audience, and so some people fish, and I guess that's just a reality. Another thing that I like to do survival wise is forage, but you really need to know what you're doing there. I grew up foraging, so I know when I'm looking at a strawberry or a Saskatoon or a blueberry. So there's a lot of berries you can eat in Manitoba. Right now is a really good time for mushrooms, but you don't eat a mushroom if you don't know what it is, because those will kill you. But some of the most delicious mushrooms in the world grow in Manitoba. Morel mushroom, which is a gourmet, multi-$100 mushroom. It just grows. It grows freely in some places in Manitoba, and you can live if you know what you're doing. You can forage and live and still be a vegetarian. I see a question. Have I ever been lost in the woods? No. I've been stuck in the woods, which is different. You might get into a situation where you just aren't able to get out. And this is not, I didn't have to be rescued by like a chopper or anything, but I was driving off-road, and I got a vehicle into a place where it should not have been, and it got very stuck. And I wasn't going to be able to get out of there by myself, so I actually called my dad. My dad came with his truck into the same reckless area, and he hooked a chain on and helped me to get out. But yeah, I've been stuck in the woods, but I haven't been lost in the woods. I actually, there's a thing that's like wayfinding, which is just having a map in your head. So there's a story of Hansel and Gretel. Do you guys know that one? So Hansel and Gretel go into the woods. I can't remember the context, but they've decided to run away. So they go into the woods and they leave a trail of breadcrumbs, thinking that they can follow the crumbs that they drop back to their house if they need to. And then birds eat their breadcrumbs, and then they're trapped. That's how Hansel and Gretel wind up at the house of the witch. Strange for me to tell a story like that, but really that story is about having an actual path. And so I won't go where I won't remember the path. If I don't remember the path, I wouldn't go further. One of the worst things you can do when you're lost is carry on. Because if you're lost, you're often 2 miles from civilization, from a road, or from wherever you launched. 2 miles is not very far. And so if you were to get lost, the thing you should do is stick around, make a shelter, stay there. And what will happen is in a couple days, people will be like, oh, that person's lost. And then they'll go looking for you. They'll know the way. And then they'll get you. Yeah, if you're lost and then you try to find your own way out, chances are you're going to get yourself more lost, and you'll go from being 2 miles away to being 20 miles away, and then no one will ever find you. I mean, I don't mean to be scary, but the best thing is to not get lost and to know your path home. Yeah, I grew up in the country. I actually grew up at my mom's house. She still lives there. It's a beautiful property. We have 40 acres. So that's hard to kind of measure. But let's see. If you guys have ever been to like Polo Park Mall, I think sits on I think it sits on like 20 or 30 acres. So like that length of property is a property I grew up on. So I used to disappear into the woods for many hours at a time, but there was no way to get lost. There's always roads in every direction. So I have friends who go much deeper into the wilderness. I have a friend who likes to get flown in to northern rivers and then canoe for many hours, and days and weeks, and then eventually winds up on the other end of some river and finally finds civilization, after 2 weeks of nonstop disconnected paddling and traveling. That's very interesting, and I would like to do that someday, but I just haven't. I haven't been willing to take that risk. Yeah. All right. Boy, long live stream. I hope you guys are okay carrying on. I mean, I think this is interesting content for sure. I'm just looking through to see. Oh, here is a page back. There's a page on bugs, and it tells you different reactions to different bugs. So that's another thing that I grew up in a place that's very high wood tick population. So I get a lot of. I used to grow up getting a lot of ticks, and I've never been sick. So there's a certain kind of tick that's called a deer tick, and that's the one everyone's worried about. Those I have never seen one, but I've definitely had a lot of bugs on me in my time. So this is just talking about different animals and how you identify whether they're dangerous to you or not. There we go. So I think that's the last of the survival page. Yeah. So, I mean, this is as good a spot as any, I think, to tune out, unless you guys, to end the stream, unless you guys have more questions. It's a Friday, and I know you guys have other things you would like to get to as well, so I don't want to hold on to you forever. So, unless you have a question, yeah, I'll probably, or another section that you wanted to see. I mean, sometimes people might be interested, like, in the legal end of things. You know, it's something smart to know about, is the world of legality. But yeah, that's okay. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and when you ask questions, you know, you get me when I'm less prepared. And so sometimes me when I'm less prepared is probably a little bit more interesting. So that's why I encourage questions on here. And so I appreciate that you guys asked them. So I am going to end this stream as I usually do. Just encourage you guys to wash your hands for 20 seconds at a time, because it's working. It sounds like sometime in June they're going to open up schools a little bit, which is very exciting. Manitoba did such a great job with this. And I'm going to encourage you guys to be sure to take care of each other. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.